Hey, listeners. My name is Elisha, the founder of the Witnesses podcast. It's so beautiful to have you listening to our podcast. And I want you to know something that means a whole lot to me. Thank you for tuning in. And one thing I love to tell all of our listeners is it's not just about you listening, but listening to understand. Understanding is the most important thing. So important. So you have to listen, learn, and practice. Thank you so very much and happy listening.
Hi, Jason. It's so nice to have you on the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
That's so good. Okay, Jason, oftentimes I love to talk about the essence of this show, which is to invite amazing guests, amazing guests like Jason to come talk to us about their triumphant stories. Because we believe that in our audience, there might be some people who are stuck up in a situation that Jason came out of triumphantly. So by those people getting to listen to you speak, they might actually pick some information from you. I mean, the ones you'll be sharing with us today that might lead to their transformation. So, sorry, it's all about transforming lives, transforming those ones who are going to be listening. Okay, Jason, within the next few minutes, I want us to get started with your story, the challenges that you faced, and how you overcame them. And afterwards, I've got some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Jason, over to
Good.
you.
Good. So I'll tell you a little bit about my story, and that is that, I grew up in a small farm town. My dad bailed on my mom and my two brothers and me when I was 10 or 11. And so at a young age, I kind of had to be the dad. I kind of had to be the leader of my family at 11 or 12. And there's a lot of good that comes from that. There's a lot of pain that can come from that too, but I realized really quickly that it didn't feel good to watch my mom have to pay for everything, to watch her have to struggle and no help from my father and just make the best way that she could. So at a young age, I realized that I need to make an income. I had 3 jobs by the time I was 15, 16 years old. I was trying to help pay for things and do what I could. And when I was 21, I opened my first business. I opened a mortgage company, and that business grew really big. We had close to 100 employees. We were doing about $1 million a month in revenue. And, I was kind of right place, right time, but I worked really hard and I did everything that I could. And that business continued to grow and it continued to build. And I did everything that these really smart doctors and, not doctors, lawyers and CPAs and things said that we should do with our money. And I thought we were in a pretty good place. And then 2007 came. You look like a pretty young person, so I don't know how much you remember of 2007, but that was when the whole market collapsed, and we went from 100 employees and millions of dollars in revenue to losing money every month. And over a 2.5-year period of time, I went from being a multimillionaire to being had to file Chapter 7 bankruptcy. I was broke. I was homeless. Everything that I had worked for had crumbled away. And that has a real effect on you as a person, as a human being. Your mental state, the whole bit. And I remember waking up one morning and saying that we've got to do something about this. We got to do something different. And that I got back on my feet, started building again, and got myself to the other side of that. I can tell you that while I was going through that, it was one of the most painful things that I've ever been through in my entire life, watching everything that I had worked for being taken away. At the same time, I look back on it, and it was one of the biggest lessons that it was some of the best lessons that God ever gave me through that pain. And so I just, I always try to remind people that sometimes when we're in the midst of something that feels like, why are we here? Why is this happening? Why are we experiencing this right now? That sometimes it can be exactly where we're supposed to be, and it can be a really beautiful message that puts us in a better place.
Beautiful. I got that. I got that. Okay, let us begin with the questions, shall we?
Sure.
All right. So, it's a very important one. It says, why do most businesses fail within the first 5 years? You got that?
Yeah. Why do most fail in the first 5 years? There's a model that I've discovered in business, and I think it kind of ties into like why do most of New Year's resolutions fail within the first 5 years. I think I've gotten the privilege to travel all around the country and speak in front of all different types of business owners. I've built 10 multi-million-dollar companies myself, and I'm not saying, hey, look at me. I'm saying that the reason why I'm successful, I think, is probably just because I've made more mistakes than most people, and we learn from our mistakes and we don't do those things again. And over time, I mean, I've been doing this for 24 years now. Yeah, 24 years now, 23, 24 years. And we start to learn, the different things that work and don't work. And I've narrowed it down. I call it my 4 pillars to business success. And I've narrowed it down to 4 things that I think if we can dial in these 4 things correctly, we can have success in business. And the problem is that nobody's really out there teaching that. And so, most people they're good at something at their job and they say, well, I should open up my own business. And, maybe they're a good IT programmer or something. And say, so I should open up my own IT company. And the problem is, when they leave that corporate environment where they were a programmer there, and now they're their own business, now they're in charge of HR, now they're in charge of payroll, now they're in charge of hiring and firing people. Now they're having to do all these additional skills that being a great programmer wasn't. And so there's a difference. For any of your audience, if you've never read the book The E-Myth, it's a great book to read if you're trying to transition into full-time self-employment. And basically, the story behind it is, at heart, we're either an entrepreneur, a manager, or a technician. And everybody wants to be the entrepreneur, but it's not exactly how it works. We can move in and out of those 3 different categories, but we're primarily one. And I think it's just really important for you to understand which one you are, so that you can build around yourself and build a good team that works.
Oh, that was a very, very important one and a beautiful answer. Oh, I love that. Okay, let's go ahead. All right, so let's say someone asks you, hey, Jason, what do you mean by mentor? Mentor. What would your response be?
Yeah, so the 4 pillars are metrics, model, mindset, and mentor. Those 4 areas. I work with a lot of different businesses, and when businesses are struggling and they come to me, I look at those 4 categories, and if I can organize and clean up those 4 categories, I can almost always put them on the path to success. So if you want to take one of the 4 pillars of mentor, to me that means finding somebody that's already achieving the result that you're currently trying to achieve, and become in alignment with them. I don't mean just go find some random coach that's on the internet that's talking about they can scale your business. And I'm a big fan. One of my biggest criteria, one of my top criteria of finding a good mentor is somebody that's actually doing what it is that I'm trying to accomplish. And I can give you a million examples, but when I opened the mortgage company, the first thing that I did was found somebody that ran a mortgage company that looked how I wanted mine to look. I found a gentleman by the name of Greg Frost. He was the first guy in America to ever do $1 billion worth of home loans. And he was the guy that I hired because my thought process, I don't have this fancy college degree. I don't have this fancy business education. My thought always was, if I don't know the answer to something, align myself with somebody who already knows the answer, and I'll get there so much faster. Entry level entrepreneurs make this is one of the biggest mistakes I see them make over and over and over. And I hope you guys listen to this, because it will make all the difference in the world. Entry-level entrepreneurs say, once I get some success, once I start to figure things out, once I start to bring in some money, then I'll go find a mentor. It's a if-then type situation. Any new business I go into, the very first thing I do before I even start the business is I find the mentor that's already achieving the result that I want, and I hire them to help me from the very beginning. We just bought a 94-bed assisted living facility, and I know nothing about the medical world. I've had zero experience in that. And the first thing that I did was find somebody that's already super successful in that space and say, share your knowledge with me. Tell me what I don't know. Tell me where I'm going to mess up. Tell me where I'm going to make mistakes. And it's never been a cost to me. It's always been if I can get to positive revenue 5 years faster by having the right mentor, then the mentor didn't cost me anything. The mentor paid me. It was a return on investment. So I encourage anybody that's trying to start a business, whatever type of business it is, find someone that's already achieving a high level of success in that area and align with them in whatever way, whether you have to hire them, pay them, work for them, whatever it is. And you'll get business success infinitely faster. Not just somebody who preaches it, but somebody that actually does it.
Someone that actually does it. Okay, beautiful. What an educative moment it is with Jason. I'm really loving this. Okay, how can one create a formula or a blueprint for success? Can you share that with us?
Yeah. So the next thing that I'll say along that line, the next pillar I would describe there is your metrics. Again, these are things that we underestimate the importance of, and they're so important into us getting results in what we're doing. So when I say metrics, I'm talking about the metrics that run your business. So I'll give some like surface level metrics, and they're a little different for every company, but the first thing that we need to track is how much marketing is going out. The second thing that we need to track is how much response is coming in. The third thing that we need to track is, out of the responses coming in, how many appointments do we set? Out of the appointments that we set, how many offers for our product do we make? And if we're tracking all these individual categories, I can take a business that's struggling, and in 5 minutes I can figure out what we need to fix. I had a woman that paid me a large five-figure sum of money to help her set up a company. And she came up to my office for a week. We set the whole thing up. She went back to Tucson, where she lived, Tucson, Arizona, and she implemented everything that I taught. And she called me about a week later and she said, "Oh my God, Jason, this was the best money that I ever spent. Everything's working just like you said it would work. I couldn't be happier." And I'm like, "Good. That's what I want is happy clients." She called me about a week after that and she said, "Jason, I can't believe this. This isn't what you said. I had 76 people respond to my ad and not a single one of them want to do business with me." And I realized right there on the spot that everybody has different personality types, right? Everybody has different areas that they're good at. And this is one thing that people miss a lot. Somebody that's really good at marketing may not be good at sales. Somebody that's really good at sales may not be good at accounting. Somebody that's really good at accounting may not be good at other things. But yet when we open our own business, we kind of tend to put ourselves on the assembly line in all these different spots. And we don't necessarily recognize that we're not really great. Well, the woman that I was helping, she used to be a CPA, and she put herself in the sales role, in the sales position, and she wasn't converting any of the leads that were coming in. And so therefore, her story that she said was that the leads were bad. I knew that if 76 people responded to the marketing, that it would be impossible that none of them were interested in the product. They all picked up the phone and called. You know what I mean? They all responded. So a certain percentage of them had to be interested. So I helped her find a salesperson. We put a salesperson in that role. We got her out of the way, and she started closing business. But had I not been involved in that, her story would have been that this didn't work, or that those people weren't interested. So I think it's really important to know your numbers, because if you can tell me, how many responses are coming in, how many of them you're converting into clients, how many of them you're meeting with, how many of them you're making an offer to, whether you own a dental practice or a law firm or whatever it is, as simple as that sounds, 95% of businesses don't do this, and they don't know where their problem is, and then they just say the business model doesn't work. Oftentimes the business model does work. We just have the wrong person in the wrong place on the bus.
Beautiful. Okay, let us talk about mindset. There are four key pillars, right? We talked about mental, metrics, now mindset. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, that's a good one. This is my favorite one, and this is the one that most people kind of have resistance to, like, "Oh yeah, that's not what my problem is." But I'll tell you this: in my experience with the businesses that I've built and create, and the hundreds of other businesses that I've helped consult, 80% of success in anything is psychological, and 20% is mechanics. I can teach you all the right business mechanics. And don't get me wrong, the right business mechanics will get you to the finish line 10 years faster. You have to have the right business plan. You have to have the right mechanics. But if this is messed up, if our mindset isn't correct, we're not going to get the same results. And I can give you, I can give example after example of this, but we have to be in the right place. If I am stressed out, overwhelmed, upset, frustrated, and that's the emotional state that I'm in, and now I have to talk to a customer. I mean, I'll just ask you guys right now, if you know what it feels like. You get some bad news, you're behind on bills, or money's tight, or something bad happens, or you're getting a little car wreck, or whatever, and then you have to go meet with a client. Or if you're super excited and you're pumped up and you're in a good mood and you feel like you can accomplish anything and you're excited to bring change to the world and make things better, if that person shows up to meet with the client, or the upset, frustrated, overwhelmed person shows up to meet with the client, which one's going to get a better result? I mean, 100 out of 100, the happy, confident one that's feeling good, right? And
Right.
we don't recognize how often throughout the day we're showing up in a mediocre state, and in a mediocre state doesn't push through the obstacle. It doesn't move forward when we're stuck. It doesn't make the calls at night when we feel like not making them. So I really, I do a 16-week training for people on how to rewire their subconscious mind. It's 80% of success in anything is psychological. We've got to get this right, especially if we're trying to start our own business and grow it. We've got to control this. We can't always control what happens, but we can control how we respond to it, and we can control how we choose to see it. And it is a choice. And I know people have resistance to saying that something is a choice. But it is a choice. It is a choice how we see it. And as soon as we can understand and recognize that, we can program it into a positive way.
Positive way. Hey, Jason, now you're proving to me that you are a business expert, because your words are so pure, amazing inside, I tell you. And I've been learning series of things ever since you started talking. That's so good. Okay, so the last M, that is model. Is that it?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, let us talk
model.
about
Yeah, let's talk about model. So what I mean by model is the structure in which your business is operating. So we have, and I kind of talked about this a little bit, but think again, back to like you're working in corporate America and you're a computer programmer, you're an IT, a software writer, something like that. That's your role in that company, but there's somebody else who's doing sales, who's selling that software. There's someone else who is doing payroll for all the employees that work there. There's someone that's managing the salespeople. There's someone that's managing the developers. And so when I sit down with somebody to help them, number one, either create a business, or number two, take their business from say 1 million to 5 million, I do the same process where I tear the whole business down and I rebuild it back correctly, and I break it down to nuts and bolts. And one of the things that every one of your listeners can do, whether you're a new entrepreneur or whether you have a 7 or 8 figure business already, I do this with my companies once a year. We tear it all down and we put it back together how we think it should be. And as I said, one of the biggest mistakes that we make is we put ourselves, when we start a new business, even experienced entrepreneurs. I work with companies that are, doing millions of dollars a year in revenue, and the owner is working 80 hours a week. They're playing way too many positions, and they're their own bottleneck in their business growth, but they don't realize it, because you know what? Every single one of them say to me, well, you don't understand, Jason, I'm the only one that can do this. I worked with a vein doctor who was one of the best vein doctors in the Midwest. And he said, you don't understand. I'm the only one that knows how to do this. And I said, with all due respect, you don't understand. You're not the only one that knows how to do this. There are not the majority of people know how to operate on veins, but I would imagine if we really looked, we could find somebody that's really close to just as good as you. And if we can pull you out of that position, and this happens with I helped a woman that owned a hair salon, and she had 8 or 10 other stylists, but she was the main income earner, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's a doctor, a lawyer, a hairstylist, whatever. They all say the same thing. Well, you don't understand, Jason. No one else can do this the way I do. My clients aren't going to go to anyone else. They trust me. I'm not telling you that you're wrong. I'm just telling you that I've helped a lot of business owners who felt that way. And I've helped them come out the other side where they've been able to grow and scale their business to a much bigger level and take themselves from 70 or 80 hours a week down to 15 or 20 hours a week because they started to work on their business instead of in it.
All right, Jason. So, in conclusion, it has been a beautiful moment with you on the show. Let's say there's one piece of advice you'd like to give to the audience. What would that be? And let's say there are someone listening who would like to reach out to you, learn more about what you do. How can that be possible?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, I have a 16-week training that we've done for years, and we've helped entrepreneurs and business owners go through that, help them get to the next level, whether they're starting a business or whether they're trying to scale up their business. And it's something that we saw on our website for $1,000. I'm giving it away to anybody on this call that's listening, anybody in your audience. You can have access to that for completely free. Go to www.ultimatesuccessblueprint.com. And there'll be just a couple quick things. We're not going to spam you, anything like that. You put your information in, and we'll deliver it to you. It's a condensed version of that 16-week training. It's about an hour and a half, and it walks through. It's absolutely life-changing. So first and foremost, I would advise you guys, go there, grab that. It's free. You don't have to pay for it for being a guest. But as far as the advice goes, as I said, I'm going to circle back to the best advice in business that I get is find somebody, and I said this before, but find somebody that's achieving the result that you're trying to achieve and model them. I know that the internet is full right now of gurus who want to teach business and scaling and all those things. You really got to weed through that. You really got to, everybody's an expert now that there's computers and this kind of thing. Everybody is teaching something that they don't necessarily, there's no shortage of people teaching business success. Find somebody that actually owns a real business, that's achieving real results, that is having real success other than being successful and selling people on buying trainings and courses. And I'm not making that wrong. I'm just saying that you can go to college and get a business degree. Oftentimes the person teaching the class at the college has never run a business. And for me, and again, I'm not making it wrong. For me, I want to find somebody that's been successful in business for 10, 15, 20 years, that gets results every time, that's getting results in the area that I want. If I'm struggling with social media marketing, I want to find somebody that is ultra successful in social media marketing, that has, 1 million followers, because if they figured out how to get 1 million followers, they can teach me what they did. If they've only got 500 followers, but they're teaching me, they're mentoring me on how to create an audience, you know what I'm saying? Find in whatever area you're needing help, find somebody that's really knocking it out of the park and model what they do. Like anything else in life, if you want to be a professional bodybuilder, find somebody that's already won a national championship, eat what they eat, lift what they lift, exercise how they exercise, do exactly what they do on a daily basis, and you'll get the same result. That's how it works. We make it harder than it is.
That was a great and beautiful advice, Jason. I love it. Okay, so that's going to be the end of the show. Thank you for your time. Thank you for honoring the invite, and thank you for coming. It means a whole lot. Thank you so very much, Jason. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate you.
Thank you for tuning in to this incredible episode. Your support means the world to us, and we truly value you. We look forward to having you join us for the next episode. If you enjoyed what you heard, please consider rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. Your feedback is greatly appreciated.